little bit of a softer start this evening. How's everybody doing? It's Tuesday, 11/12/24. That seems like a series of important numbers, doesn't it? How's everybody doing? This evening is a Q&A. We haven't done one in a long time. And first, a couple of reminders. Thursday, we have another QA, so that will be 2 in 3 days. The reason for that is I'm going to be asking some questions myself tonight, and I want to get to ask everybody, Europe as well as US. On Saturday, we have after stack number 10, which is going to be dealing with the smart object, which is not me. It's the other thing in Photoshop. And Bud's going to do that one. We're going to be alternating for a while and see how that works out. I'll be doing something the following week, but I'm not quite sure what yet. So if there's something you want to cover, a tool that I would understand, let me know. The competition is on, and it's heating up, and the prizes just keep rolling in. Today we got a lens that will be coming our way. I'm going to list all of the prizes and the sponsors of the competition in a couple of weeks when I have it all finalized. But we have signed books, we have color calibration devices, whole sets of them actually. In fact, it's this much color calibration stuff. That seems like an excessive amount to me for a color card and a X-Rite color checker, but there you go, that's what it is. And you could win that by entering the competition. It's a wild card competition. You can do anything you want that's related to macro photography, and you can put in 3 pictures. We're going to that's for everybody, winners, former winners, whatever. You get 3 shots. And I'm going to have a guest judge, possibly 2, but I want to check with my first guest judge before I make that decision. Courtesy, you understand. So what we're talking about tonight, when you're not asking me questions, that is a Q&A so that I can find out a little about what you guys want. That didn't make any sense. I'll try that again. Sentence effort number 2. What brought all this on is probably a good place to start. What brought it on was I've been planning to do it for a couple of weeks and just kept forgetting to do it because I had interesting stuff I wanted to talk about. But what actually triggered me to do it today was I was told that some folks had been making some grumbly comments about my programming, about subjects that were being selected that really weren't interesting to them, and I completely understand that. That's the nature of having a broadcast like this, where you're trying to satisfy everybody. You just can't do it. There's always going to be something that doesn't, ring a bell for people, and I get that. And you are absolutely at your free to complain about it all you want. I mean, that's also part of the game. If you don't like it, you can complain about it to me or to somebody else, and a lot of the times that will result in a change. But this was concerning some programming that's come along fairly recently, involving electron microscopy for one thing, medium format photography for another, and there were several others. And this is not a new problem. This is not something new. It's ever since I started this 6 years ago, whenever I would do something that was a little bit more off macro, I guess you could say that, a little bit less directly to do with the practical side of macro, I'd get grief for it. And for a long time, that's all I did. That's all the videos I did. I have hundreds and hundreds of hours of videos and live streams about macro photography. And I love macro photography. I could talk about that forever. But every now and again, I feel like talking about something that I think will excite and interest and entertain and possibly even inspire you. And that's really important to me. It's really the reason I do this. It's not so much about educating people. You can get that anywhere. You can get it out of a book. but giving you a fun time while you're doing it, and also hopefully getting you excited about something in the process. Now that's a different thing. That's a big deal to me. So that's why when I pick a topic, I don't pick it at random, and I don't pick it out of a hat. There are two ways that a topic will end up on a live stream. The first one is that somebody will ask me to do it, and ask Michelle if you wish. She might be here. I haven't had a look yet, but I will in a moment. Or Susan, or Mike, I believe, and you'll hear that they have all asked for a particular live stream. Some have asked for more than one, and I've done them all already within a week of being asked. I've done them, so I always am responsive to whatever it is you want to talk about. But when there is a week or a day when I haven't been asked to do anything, and I'm at liberty to choose whatever I want, I think it's a good idea sometimes to challenge what we see as our universe in photography. What is off topic about learning a little bit about scanning electron microscopes? It's a device that sees the stuff that we can't see with our microscopes. That's what got me into macro. We're seeing stuff we couldn't see with our eyes and a magnifying glass. And I think it's endlessly fascinating. I think it's an interesting topic that is going to generate some fascinating videos and probably some funny fascinating images and possibly some funny videos. I've already been talking about this project. If you haven't heard about it, forgive me. It involves renting a scanning electron microscope to do an hour of footage a month, where we'd travel to the machine and image a particular specimen, something that I would already have photographed, so that we could look at the whole context of the thing and even learn something about the bug or the machine or whatever it is we're going to photograph. Now, I was going to take somebody with me. Anybody from the area who wanted to come, has never done this, then we'd make a day out of it and make a video from it. So that there was, it scored on all points. I mean, it was a chance to entertain, educate, and inspire all at once, and in my opinion, very directly related to macro photography. I'm not going to even go into why I think medium format macro photography is a reasonable thing to talk about, and it's got nothing to do with who can afford a medium format camera. I'm not suggesting that all my videos are for you to go out and buy the thing. I wouldn't expect anybody to buy an electron microscope even after a year of those videos. It's just about rounding out what we do here and giving you a bit more information than you need, because it's fun and it's interesting. That's it. I'm done. So that's why I'm doing this. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, I'll tell you what, I'll read some of your questions first, then I'll get to that, because if we don't have time, I'd rather skip mine than yours. And you know what? I am going to... Oh my goodness. We have a friend, L. Rods, is here. This is the gentleman that put me in touch with, what's the name? Shibuya. It sounds like something you would say in the army if yeah, anyway, don't go down that road. But Shibuya is a company. They list themselves as a Japanese company. But the people that I've talked to are Chinese, as far as I can tell. Maybe they're owned by a Japanese firm. I don't know. But anyway, the point is this. They make objectives. And they have been touted by some as being as good as Mitutoyo's. So I got in touch with a company this week and asked if they would lend me just one of their objectives, a 5, a 10, or a 20. Didn't matter. I'd keep it for a few days and I'd get it right back to them. And they declined that offer. It would have been a review, of course, and possibly a recommendation for their objectives, if indeed the thing checked out. Now, I've seen pictures that my guest here has taken, and they were quite remarkable, stunning actually. They're just absolutely fantastic pictures of a flea. And I thought, my goodness, that looks like they were done with a Nikon or a Mitutoyo objective. Yeah, I'm gonna buy one when I can save up the pennies, and I'll do a review, and we'll see if it is as good as it sounds. Then these lenses are between a third and a half the price of a Mitutoyo objective. So don't know yet. Haven't tested it, and until I do, I won't be able to say. So yeah, that's just the way it is. If anybody would like to buy one of these lenses just for yourself and lend it to me for a week, then we'll work out a deal where I'll pay for it. Not the whole thing. I mean, I'd buy it for myself if I was going to do that. I just can't afford a new lens right now. Why? Oh, because of this. I ought to show you this, because we'll probably end up talking about it tonight. That's my new AWPhot microscope from Nikon, and it is an absolute work of art, and an absolutely beautiful machine to use. And with a Nikon camera plugged right into its receptacle on the front, it takes fantastic pictures. So I am going to actually show you some of those pictures as we go along tonight. I probably won't comment on them. I'll just put them up and you can look at them and tell me if you like them or not. No, you don't even have to do that, because they're all crystals. I hadn't done a single crystal photograph since I left the South, and I came across my box the other day as I was setting up the microscope, and I thought, that's what I'll do. I'll see if any of the old slides made it, and some of them did, and I've been taking pictures of them. And a microscope has always been, to me, an observational instrument, something you buy to look at stuff for other reasons. It was never a photographic tool. It was all about looking and incidentally taking pictures, unlike my cameras, which are for taking pictures and incidentally looking. Right, if you followed that, that's good. This machine is a photographic tool with a camera plugged into it. It takes pictures that are that good. I was truly shocked at how clear and bright the pictures are. And that's not even with fancy objectives. That's with some inexpensive finite objectives that I have. This is a very old microscope, but its glass is fantastic and the images are great. And I'll put some up while we talk. I'm going to start answering questions. Now, I don't want anybody to have to transcribe questions, seeing as that's all we're doing today. Alistair and Bud and Amy, boy, the whole crowd showed up. I think maybe if you flag me if there's something that I missed, that would be great. But otherwise, I can just go straight to the source once I've answered the ones that are already in the back channel, if that's okay with you guys. I'll leave it up to you. You can if you put them up there, I'll answer them from up there. I said I was going to put some pictures up, so I will start by doing that. I taught myself how to do a different kind of lighting for microscopy over the last 2 days, and it's very, very complicated, but it's very, very interesting. It's called Hoffman modulation contrast something or other, and it involves using strangely oriented slits and polarizers and a special kind of filter thing, and it takes pictures that look really three-dimensional. It's not quite as nice as DIC, but it came on my $200 microscope, so what are you going to do? You're not going to send it back for that. So yeah, absolutely fantastic pictures, and I will share them with you. I need to find them first, so just chat amongst yourselves while I grab them from, I think I put them here. I did put them there, that's good. Okay, So I'm just going to put these up in no particular order unless a question is asked about them. I'm not going to say anything because I already put these in the post that I put up yesterday. So let me go ahead and these are not exactly well, it doesn't matter. I'm putting them up now, and I've got to move the chat down here to my desk so that I can see the questions. This is very complicated. Hold on, because now I've got to move the chat again so that I can see my OBS. I need 4 more computer screens. Here we go. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So we will just leave that there for a minute. These are all, by the way, crystals of amino acids and common salts in water or alcohol or ether or something like that. And they were all shot with the D7500 on the new Microscope. And if they look fairly impressive in terms of color and everything, I have done nothing to them except put them in Lightroom and adjust exposure where needed. So before, let me put up another picture while I go looking for the chat. And they're not all gaudy like this. Let me tell you though that the cross polarization on this microscope doesn't let any other light in, so it's very, very intense, and that's why these colors are a bit over the top. But okay, let me see. Questions. All right, I love this channel. Whatever. Okay. Oh no, it's Russ. I love this channel. Macro photography is a very broad spectrum, and I personally find anything and everything to do with it really interesting. So do I. So do I. And that's kind of what got me into this, and what keeps me here is it is endlessly fascinating. There is so much to do, so much to look at, so much to explore, and so many different ways to do it. And I love talking about all of them. And whatever it is that we need to learn about next, let me know. And let me see. I'm going to go back up to the top, guys. I hate to say this, but I have lost the connection to Telegram. I'll find it in a minute, but until then, I'm going to run down the questions from the chat. And I'll say hi to Zeno and David and who else is here? Paul. I didn't get to the post office the last 2 days, but will, I promise. I've been printing away like crazy, so you will soon receive that. Michelle, if you're here, would you text me your address, please, if you can. And let me see. That's not a question. It's something about an Apple T-shirt. Robert Wester is here from Ocala. Welcome, Robert. Glad to have you here. I'm going to change pictures, if you don't mind, because that one's a bit over the top. I'm going to go with something more subtle and beautiful. You have to turn down the cross-polarization effect with this microscope because it is so intense. All right, I made the questions disappear again. Let me see. Russ was congratulating Klaus on the competition, and rightly so. Thank you for doing that, Russ, and thank you for doing the competition for us again, Klaus. It was a fantastic picture, one of my all-time favorites, just beautifully done. And I can't wait to see what he and all of you guys are going to put in this year, this year's big competition, the end of the year one. Anyhow, let me see. Looking for questions. Dan, haven't seen you in a while. Glad you're here. Mike, how's Phoenix? Hot, sunny? Oh, hang on. That's not hot, is it? That's cold for you guys. All right. Paul Daly's on his nth Mac. Okay. Yeah. I've lost count of my Macs. There are so many of them. Let me see what other pictures we've got. I love this one. This one reminds me of a dream catcher for some reason. It's acetanilide and vitamin C. I want to tell you about a thing. If you're into crystals, I've got an idea for you, a recommendation, something I've done, and you know, the video is almost ready. I could have shown it to you if I'd thought about it earlier and got it started. But what I've been doing is making a crystal, a complicated, usually a multi-chemical crystal. And then when it's all finished, I will put a single drop of another solution on it. And it'll dissolve the crystal dramatically right in front of your eyes, and then immediately start building a whole new crystal lattice behind it. It's absolutely fascinating to watch, and it's very entertaining to watch the videos as well, with some music. Now I'm seeing somebody asking if the screen froze. Are you not getting a picture? I hope that is not the case. Let me see if we have any dropped frames or anything. This would not be a good thing. Hold on just a second. No, we haven't had any drop frames, so if your screen froze, it might be on your end, is what I would suggest. Okay, let me get back to the questions. And was I a little late tonight, Andrew? I felt like I was right on time, but yeah, it often feels that way, and it's been rushed this afternoon. The Shibuya thing, yeah, that was a real suggestion. If anybody wants one of those and would like to hear a review as well, I will only keep it for a couple of days. I can run through my testing protocol immediately and then get it right in the mail to you. Serious consideration. And Robert asks, why medium format versus full frame? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. Why was I going to talk about medium format when that's really not a tool that is often discussed in macro photography? Well, the first reason was because it's not often discussed in macro photography, but people ask me about it all the time. Robert, you asked me about it 2 years ago, and there were good reasons why I suggested that was probably not the best camera for what we do here, especially at higher magnification. And that's why I had planned to do a series of videos on medium format macro photography. Not just putting a 120mm lens on the GFX and going out in the woods, but actually using a medium format camera on a macro rig with an extension system, with a microscope objective or an enlarger lens, whatever it would take. What could cover that big sensor, and what kind of pictures would they be? I wanted to know that. I still want to know that. Unfortunately, the arrangement I had to get a loan of a GFX fell through, and not being able to afford a medium format camera to do the review, I had to put it on hold. So that's why I was going to do it again, because I thought it would be interesting, entertaining, and inspirational in some way. But yeah, if I ever get the equipment in hand, I will do it, because I think somebody needs to answer that question once and for all. How do we take good pictures in the macro studio with a medium format camera? I know it can be done. I have seen plenty of them. So this is my first attempt at using, it's not really phase contrast, it's just it was a phase contrast objective that I had without the right condenser. But anyway, it looked pretty three-dimensional. What would be your 3 top priorities and solutions for minimizing vibrations on your stacking rig? Question from Russ. My 3 top priorities. The first one would be adding weight to my platform. Making my platform as heavy as possible, but keeping that weight as low to the ground as possible, which would be number 2. Low center of gravity. Number 3 would be, gosh, either location, finding a solid substrate to put it on, either a concrete floor or a solid wooden, well, no, wood's never good for floors and microscopes. Yeah, I think a solid concrete floor or some kind of anti-vibration table, an optical table, but a solid floor would be better. You should do both. And was that 3 or 4? I've got another one. What was the other one? Yes, sorbothane. If you've got it, it's a good intermediary to dampen vibrations as well. A lot of it is practice and technique. You can be in a pretty bad situation as far as vibrations go and yet not have a lot of vibrations if you do things very carefully. And you can be on a pretty solid place and get lots of trouble if you're banging into things and making a lot of noise. Remember, sound is vibration, and it's important not to have all that going on. So there, I would say, in order of importance, the weight, the low center of gravity, and yeah, if you're using a table, brace the legs. Is that enough? That's enough. Okay, I skipped a few, so I'll go back up. George Simpkins. It isn't a waste of time to view any and all different types of photography and give you ideas for macro that you may not have thought about before. Well, you're a man after my own heart, George. That is exactly the way I feel about some of the esoterica that I talk about. Is it might improve our macro photography. We might be better photographers for knowing about it. Maybe not, but we might, and it's interesting. I just believe you never can have too much information, but you certainly can have not enough. And viewing polished thin slices of meteorites and the chondrules, the ordinary chondrites, is like looking at a stained glass window. I agree, Art. How do you deal with reflections, though? What is your method for eliminating the bright spots on these sliced meteors? I find that particularly challenging to manage any of the really glaring reflections. I had a piece of stone that I photographed last summer. Couldn't get a single good picture from it because I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, I'd like to hear what you're doing. Any progress with getting and testing the new Wii macro microscopes, lenses? Anybody tried them yet? Well, one of our new friends who's on the in the live stream this evening sent me some pictures. If I had thought about this, I would have asked permission to share those pictures on the stream because I think you would really be blown away by them. But I didn't, and it's too late now because I don't have them. But he took a beautiful set of images of a flea using, I believe it was the 20 and the 50, or was it the 10 and the 50, or the 10 and the 20? Anyway, they look a lot like Mitutoys. They're a little bit smaller. They're APO lenses. They're fully color corrected. And they're about half the price. So if they are legitimate, and certainly some people in the macro community believe they are, then I certainly would be interested in knowing that, because I think that any time we can save on a Mitutoyo objective and get something just as good, then yeah, we should. So I am on it, and I'm going to keep plugging away. I did write back to the Shibuya company and explain to them that I generally don't do bad reviews the first time I try a product. I will send it back and get them to replace it with one that isn't faulty. Gives them an opportunity to correct the problem. But yeah, we'll see if they're interested. It would be great. I'd be so excited to be able to tell you about something that would save you a bunch of money and be fun to use. I wish I knew what crystals these were. I have I made them by accident and haven't seen them since, but they're beautiful to look at under the microscope. Let me see. After Art's comment, there was Paul. How concentrated are your crystallized liquors? It's really, really good question, Paul. They vary, and let me tell you something about doing crystals. If you haven't tried them, but if maybe some of these pictures are making you think, gee, that looks like fun, I'd like to try that. It's really very engrossing. Once you start doing it, it's like every slide you make is a shock sometimes to stick it under the microscope. It's more so with this microscope than it ever was just looking at it through my viewer, which was fine, believe me, but this is more intense. The answer to the question is it's one of the variables that I change, Paul. The variables being the concentration of the liquor, the dilutant that I'm using, or the combination of dilutants, whether or not I heat it to dilute, whether it's supersaturated or just dissolved. In other words, do I try to get more salt into the liquid than it can normally hold? All of these things are simply variables, and I keep a log of everything that I mix up and how I did it so that I know what each of those variables were. There is nothing more irritating than finding a slide with no marking on it, and you look at it under the microscope and it is fantastic. This has happened to me again this week. I have one slide with the most astonishing structures on it, and I have no idea what it is. So I'd definitely keep it systematic and change the thickness to suit. That, I think, was the same chemical that produced this one, was the same chemical that produced this. Now, don't ask me how that happens. You ask a chemist. Pay attention, if you would, to these shapes that look like cannolis. I think that's what they're called. Rolled over pastries. There are I'm moving that around, I think, on your screens. Anyway, there are loads of them. If you look, they're these open-ended tubes made out of what looks like golden tin foil. That's important because I watched these grow and spent about half an hour watching them float by, getting bigger and bigger. And this is what they end up looking like. It's unbelievable. I mean, really unbelievable. And they all look like that. How does a crystal that complicated come to be? I don't know, but it's pretty stunning. That was shot on the microscope too, using no special lighting technique, just cross polarization and a standard. No, actually, I'll tell you what, I was using a Hoffman objective without any of the Hoffman slits. So that probably doesn't mean anything to you. It just it was plain light microscopy with polarizing filters. Okay, questions. So the thickness is entirely up to you. It would seem that the thicker it was, the quicker and the better the results. That is not strictly true. Sometimes a very, very thin solution with a tiny amount of vitamin C or acetanilide will give you the most beautiful, glorious carpet of crystals, whereas if you put any more in, the crystals just mound up on top of each other. And yeah, if you've never tried shooting video of crystals as they form and change and grow and bump into one another, you absolutely need to try it, because it is really endlessly fascinating to watch. And if you've got a decent imagination and you stay up late doing this after you should have been in bed, you'll start to see all kinds of things like Christmas presents in camouflage Christmas paper and stuff like that. So let me see. You haven't dropped the bellows in the mail. That's a good thing, Paul, because I don't know that if I would have time to open the box this week. It's been super busy. Okay, so let me move on. Hernando, have I considered incorporating a microtome now that you have a nice microscope? No, actually, I have. Well, I haven't seriously considered it, but it's a matter of time before I do. I mean, for those of you who are unfamiliar with lab equipment, a microtome is a device that makes very, very thin slices of frozen tissue. And it's what we use in the lab to do biopsies. When I would remove something in surgery, the pathologist would do a frozen section, a biopsy using a microtome. That is something, along with a decent, what am I thinking of, centrifuge, that I might want to get one day. But I'm not sure that I'm there yet. I'll probably use my microscope mostly for shooting living things. I have got some video for you guys of the craziest paramecium I've ever seen. The thing spins round in circles, passing flatus, I think, out of vacuoles like you've never seen anything quite like it. And I'll probably show that on Thursday. It's not quite finished editing. But yeah, that's what I'll probably use it for. Let me see. How will you use your new studio stand in macro photography? Great question, Robert. Well, ideally, I will use it as a macro stand. Has everybody seen that? I got a Cambo stand. It was my other mega purchase this year. That I'm so thrilled about, because it's a fantastic piece of equipment that costs thousands of dollars. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time to hear about the auction that it was in, thanks to Robert, who called me on it, and I got it for $100. So that was for $100, and then you've seen the microscope already, and that was for $200. So Robert's hitting a good score with all of that. So I don't know what I'm going to use it for, other than as intended, as a solid stand for doing my stills photography for the channel. I have considered using it as a mount for a vertical rig, but it goes against a couple of the core principles of a good setup. And don't ask me what this thing is on the screen, by the way. I have no idea. I photographed it because it's so utterly amazing, but I don't know what it is. It's something growing inside a crystal. But some people have suggested that I use it as a vertical rig, but that would put it on a separate stand from my specimen, and it would just greatly increase the risk. It would have a very high center of gravity, and it would be, even though it's a very stable camera, I'm not sure I'd want to have all of that weight on the end of the arm, which would have to be suspended over the table. So I think I'll probably end up going with something more traditional, like Bud's tool post, which I could pick up for next to nothing as well. So yeah, I think I will end up using it as a camera stand. I may end up selling it because it's as good as new now. All right, let me see. When you use 10x long working distance objectives at a short focus of 5x, does the working distance also change to reflect the change in magnification? No, it doesn't. Well, it does. It changes a little bit, but it's still a 10x lens. No, it doesn't. It doesn't change. The working distance doesn't change at all. It couldn't. The infinity corrected microscope objective is creating a parallel flux of light rays out of the back end of it. It's a column of light and that's why it requires a tube lens to focus that light onto your sensor. It doesn't care whether you're a mile away from the sensor or right on the sensor. It's still going to do the same thing, and it will do the same thing, and that's what determines the working distance, is the structures within the objective. So for the 10x, you'd still have, when you were using at 5x, you'd still have 30 millimeters with a Mitutoyo, which is really, really nice, because I've been looking at finite objectives for my microscope, and yeah, that's expensive if you just have to buy them all from scratch. Look at that thing floating in it looked like the Death Star had at the end of Star Wars or whatever that film was. Yeah, floating in the ether. Anyway, let me see. Did I miss anybody? No, I'd love to have a microtome though. That would be nice. If anybody has a spare microtome, let me know. But otherwise, I'll look for one in an auction. Weight, low center of gravity, and solid base. Pretty much thought. Okay, well, you got it. Yeah, they are the same. They don't really change. Eat more chicken? No, eat more carbs, and you'll get your center of gravity down. What made me think of chickens when I read that? Yeah, my center of gravity's headed for the floor. All right, William is here too. Good evening, William. I'd be interested in hearing how people get creative lighting effects like high contrast, backlighting, shadows, focused spotlighting, varying color temperatures, as well as polarization. Yeah, that right there is that's a whole week of live streams. And your wish is my command. All right, here's the first question. It might be the only question tonight. About a year and a half ago, after plodding along with this and really just chit-chatting for the whole hour, I started doing a focused talk or a focused block of content every Tuesday and every Thursday, whether it was on macro photography of insects or something far more esoteric. It was always a topic. I always brought a topic, and I've done that for the last 200 episodes at least. Is that working? Is that what you come here for? Or should there be more chit-chat, more back and forth, more Q&A? I need to know that, because that's an important part of the programming. I love doing it this way, because I feel like if I just come and chat, that I have great fun. But if I can come here and you leave with something you didn't come with, some new facts or some new techniques, that's good. So I like it, but that shouldn't affect you either way. If Alistair, if you could just keep track of the comments, yay or nay. I won't ask another question until Alistair tells me I can, but if you just start whatever you're going to say in chat with a Y or an N, yes, we like it, or no, we don't, and that'll be good. Let me see. That's a lot of good stuff, William, to talk about, and I really, really do want to talk about backlighting as something I've actually never discussed. And yeah, that's a real skill. I have one of Bud's lighting devices, which would be a very good example of how to use that kind of hair light in macro. But yeah, we will talk about that. I will get it on the books. Any follow-up on your experience with Croyle? Not really. It's not magic. It has some specimens it's done well on, some it doesn't seem to do much on, and some it's spoiled a little bit. I try not to use it on hairy things, and mostly on beetles, I would say. But yeah, I think it has real potential. I would say I probably only use it about 20% of the time, and it's usually when I have something that I think needs to be brightened up a little bit. I'm a little leery about adding surface treatments to things that are already pretty, and for fear of making it look abnormally shiny or slick. So yeah, I don't use it as much as I think you possibly do, but the results I've had, I think, have been good, subtle, which is good. It has been helpful in loosening some really difficult appendages in very small insects. It works well for that. And what it really absolutely kicks the ball out of the park with is loosening screws. I actually used it on a microscope objective with a correction collar. That is a device that you use to change the length of the objective when you're using an inverted microscope like I am. And it was completely jammed shut, probably from having in vitro fertilization materials dropping onto it for 20 years. Drop a croil after checking with ChatGPT that wouldn't ruin the objective, and 2 hours later it's smooth as butter. So whatever else you say about that stuff, it works for loosening up tough screws. Alright, is focus stacking a useful technique for crystal photography? Zeno, yes it is. It's not vital, because remember, these crystals look massively complex and deep, like they have multiple layers. But in reality, most of them are growing on a very flat surface. Now, that's not true of all of them, but most of them are. They just look very thick because of their three-dimensional structure. So I don't use a whole lot of focus stacking, but I'm always prepared to do that. And oftentimes, I'll just do 3, 4, 6 shots, and I'll do it manually. Because remember, the microscope has a fine focus that is moving the in my case the subject only a tiny amount, and you can hand stack at significant with significant accuracy. I am going to rig this one up with a motor, a precision motor, to do automated stacking, but I doubt I'll use it that much for crystals, but I do, and I'm always ready to do that, because I would not want to miss a picture like this. Now, this was a one-shotter, but I could have done it in 2 or 3 to pick up the deeper parts. Absolutely amazing crystals. It looks like a tropical fish, or no, it looks like a cookie. A Girl Scout cookie, only better. Yep, pretty cool. This is my first effort with the Hoffman modulation contrast on the microscope. It took me all day to figure it out and set it up, and the first picture came out pretty well. That looks like solid gold. It's not. It's just a crystal. It's on a flat surface, but it does look terribly three-dimensional. So it was a big success. I've got more pictures of that Hoffman system in a little bit. Mike Olson, I like the interaction. Good. I do too. Paul is here. Paul donated a fantastic gift for a prize in the competition this year. This is going to be added to the list. You know, I was talking the other day about Z mounts when we were covering tripod heads, and I said how I didn't like them. That is because I had never set hands on this one, because this I would have bought. This is a work of art. It's got a built-in rotational platform on the bottom, spirit levels. It's made of anodized powder-coated aluminum, and it locks. I bet I could stand on this when it's locked and it wouldn't bend. This is a whole different thing than the one I have. So if you've ever heard me say Z tripod heads are a mistake, unless you get one of these, and somebody's going to ask, what is it? Well, you have to win it. It's the MSM Move, shoot, move. Oh, it's got my signature on it. Forget the Alan Wallace part. That's exactly how I write my AWs. Very cool. This is a prize for the competition November and December. Questions, questions, questions. I actually love doing Q&As because it's you never know what's going to come along. Lots of 3D print files for a microtome. I use a large nut and bolt, some beeswax and a very sharp wood chisel at the moment. That's basically what I've always done, except I use a straight, not a straight razor, one of those flat bendy razors. What are they called? They're not safety because they're the ones you cut yourself on all the time, or I do anyway. So yeah, there are ways to cut things thin, but I don't plan on doing any diagnostic pathology with them. So there is that. Isn't that a beautiful crystal? Let me see what happened to my finder. There it is. These are just shot today. As I was preparing a video, I just wanted to catch some stills. I love the sense of rushing liquid in this one, which it actually was. I just put a drop of something else on there and was filming the change. Fantastic stuff. I do love it. Okay, so back to the questions. John D. Did you throw out the review of the NovaFlex lighting system? No, I did not. I still have the review. It is a good review. I completely stand by it. It is here and ready to go. But I told Optilux, the maker of the device, that I would not release the video until they had fact-checked it, because there wasn't a whole lot of information online, and I wasn't able to get as much information as I needed. So what I'll do in that situation is I'll make the video, I'll send it to the client and ask them to look it over. They can't change the tone of my content, they can't change my review, but they can correct any facts. I've never heard back from them, and that was 6 months ago. They have, yeah. I don't know what the deal is. I've written to them about 5 times now, and to NovaFlex. So I wish I knew, but I still have the lights. I might start using them again. Yeah. I mean, I hate to. They're in the box ready to go, but I don't know where they're going. All right. So you don't necessarily make a solution 100% of the material dissolve for crystal photography. No, you do not. And it does not have to be anything you calculate. I mix together the chemicals in the liquid, and here's the deal. You can put in as much as you want or as little as you want, but you have to write it down, because if you don't and you come across an absolutely gorgeous crystal, you will never be able to make it again. It is impossible. It really is. Just calculate the number of iterations of the, when you're combining all of these different elements together, and you'll realize you will never stumble on it again. So write it down. That looked like the front end of a Viking battleship. Really incredible image with some kind of monster thing floating around out in the darkness. I do love crystal photography. It just my mind runs free with it. So popping in late. Thank you, Paul, again for the gift. That is going to make a lovely prize, and I would like to win that prize, but I can't because I'm not allowed to enter. If I did, I'd win them all, you see, because I'm the judge. All right, we got lots of yeses, so I think people, yes. Okay, people are indeed okay with the idea of getting some education at these sessions. That's good. That would it wouldn't bother me if we just chit-chatted. I am going to ask one other question. If I were to start another channel, another live stream, that was dedicated just to esoterica, just to the science, and not necessarily a photographic channel, just the cool stuff channel. That, in fact, I'll probably call it that, a different name after cool, but something like that. Would you support that if this channel just became bread and butter macro photography, nothing but, with no other discussion, no context, and just going through chapter and verse everything you need to know? That would, yeah, I won't say another word. If you want me to consider that, then just put the word channel. No, that will confuse me. Other channel, something like that. Tell Alistair, he'll keep up with it. Sorry, Alistair, that was 2 questions, and I said there'd be 1. I don't know if that's a good idea, and you know, it's a lot more work, but then again, it could be a lot of fun too. It could attract you know, an audience interested in that kind of stuff. Honestly, the way I feel about it is the stuff I talk about is interesting to me because it is related to macro photography. I'm a pretty one-trick pony when it comes to this kind of stuff, and when I talk about something, it's whether it's auctions or you name it. I mean, or travel. It's always macro photography travel, or auctions for equipment that a macro photographer would use. So anyway, I'm probably trying to canvass you there for an answer. All right. Looks like the asteroid belt. It did look like the asteroid belt. I like that picture a lot. I've only got a couple more. I'm going to try to show the videos on Thursday. Please don't ask me what this is. It's another one that I found, and if I could make it, I certainly would make more of them, but I don't know what it is. Illuminators, says Paul. I don't know why, but do insects stored in alcohol require rehydration as normal? Yes. Here's a top tip. If you've been storing your insects in alcohol, especially if you're using 91%, take them out of alcohol and put them in water. Just cold tap water is fine. And leave them in there for several hours. That will equilibrate and get the water will replace the alcohol in the bug. The reason that is important is if you just dry a bug from alcohol, several things happen. First, it dries far too quickly. You usually don't have time to position limbs and wings before everything is set in place. And once that happens, you can't undo it except by starting over again. If you replace it with water, you get plenty of time to position, mount, clean, do everything. So I recommend a soak to get the alcohol out and get the water in. And if you do that, you'll be happy. And this is probably my favorite crystal picture ever, because I don't even know what it is. This was another one that it was one of my old slides that I brought up from the coast, and I don't think I'd ever even looked at it through the viewer, and it looks like a psychedelic screaming person, and this is their invective. Isn't that nice? And this is the roof of the Sistine Chapel, all in a crystal. Don't know what it is. We'll never see a crystal like that again, and I hate that because it's amazing stuff. And if you have a nice microscope, you know what I'm saying, to look at that with your actual eyeballs in real life when all this stuff is shiny. It's pretty breathtaking. Breathtaking. All right, no, George wants a more wide-ranging experience. Yes to the other channel, Art thinks. Zeno, no. I just placed the sample. Oh no, he's talking about something else. Heat the wax until melted and pour crude. Yes, but it seems to work. Zeno, were you talking about microtones there? I bet, possibly. Okay. Basic lab principles and records. It is. Yeah, the records are the most important things. If you if you do nothing else, keep a record. I label. Oh, you can't see me, but we're done. That was the last picture anyway, so that's good. Everything that I make is labeled with exactly what's in it, and if there's a book that goes with it that explains proportions and temperatures and everything, if they need to be. So if you keep that lab book just like you would in any science lab, it'll keep you out of trouble, and you'll know what you're looking at next time, which is good. So let me put the questions back up where I can see them. So I'm interested that there are, in fact, some people who think a separate channel for non-macro, well, yeah, I guess that's, you could say that would be a good thing. Okay, let me see how many. Zeno. No, it's Rush. Russ says he's got a good vacuum pump. Excuse me, that was something I ate. And I'm looking at how I can use that with insects and freeze drying. I have experimented with freeze drying every year for the past 10 years, and I can't make it work. It destroys insects, it makes them brittle, and they're a complete nightmare to reconstitute. Anything soft-bodied will just dissolve when you thaw it. So if you come up with a way, I'd be interested to know. The way they dry the insects that you buy commercially is in an oven. Not an oven like our ovens, just basically a large room that's warm, and they leave them out in circulating air. And they dry out that way very effectively, very quickly, and without any deformation or loss of texture on the surface. Freeze drying is another matter altogether. Tissues crack, and yeah, it's a mess. Arthur, yes, another channel. William, how about doing cool stuff topics once or twice a month? First Tuesday and third Thursday. But you know, the point being that cool stuff's okay, but just not too much of it. I don't think I do too much of it, really, at all. I mean, it's only would average to maybe once every couple of months, as it is, that I, go off on. In fact, I can't remember the last thing. Oh, auctions probably was the last thing. I don't know. I'll need to think about that too. But less frequency. Okay, I can think about that. I really am going to do whatever you guys want to do. I think that there is a way that you could absolutely write my script for what I'm going to do, and that is simply by telling me what you want me to do every week. Tell me what you want me to do. If you keep my list full of topics you want to hear about, I won't have a chance to go find anything cool to talk about, and I'll have to talk about it somewhere else. We're done. It's after 9 o'clock. If I did not get to a question, I've tried doing this and it doesn't work, where I answer them out of school. I don't have your email addresses, all of you, and yeah, it just takes forever to track folks down. What I'll do is I'll take any questions I didn't answer. I will answer them first thing on Thursday, and if you can't get to Thursday, just watch the recording and your questions will be first. I'm going to make the notes of them right now, and actually I'm just going to print off the whole chat, and then we'll do that. If there's any questions I missed, they'll be answered Thursday. Thanks for coming, guys. And one last thing, if you're still here, the article I wrote yesterday was not even remotely written in ill will towards anybody. I don't feel ill will. You have every right to tell me what you like and what you don't like, and I don't care if you tell me or tell somebody else. It doesn't matter. There are much more important things than that. So I'm not bothered by this, and this is not a reaction to it. It's just it was overdue that we did this and talk. So we're all good, and I'm glad you have Discord where you can go over there and chat with one another, and that's good. It's got to be healthy. All right, guys, have a great rest of the week. I'll see you on Thursday if you can make it. I'll see you on Saturday if you want to learn how to be a brilliant post-processor like Bud. I almost said like me. Jeez. And yeah, come Thursday and there'll be some videos too. Take care, and thank you, Alistair. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Bud. And thank you, everybody, for coming. And I am going to answer your questions on Thursday, so I'll get cracking on that now. Thank you. Have a good one.